All right, we're going to start our learning in Hishtapchut HaNefesh, continue our learning, I should say. We're in chapter 91, I believe, Nun Yud Tzadik Aleph. Right, here we go. So he says like this. He says like this. I say like this first. Harinim kasher etzmi v'atzmenu v'limit Torah zu l'kol tzadikim v'amitim shebaroim l'kol tzadikim v'amitim shofnei aval kedoshim asher b'tzeim v'far l'meinu kadosh tzadik yisod olam nachal noveh v'kol chokma Rebbe Nachman ben Fege Nachman Nachman. Chasam again leinu l'kol Yisrael. Amen. If you will, Hashem, please, in the power of this learning, you should give healing to whoever needs healing, yeshuas to whoever needs yeshuas, and most importantly, heal your world, please. May it be your will that we should be able to take these ideas and deeply internalize them and use them to be able to elicit your mercy, to be able to heal this crazy, dangerous world. Okay. 91, Tzadik Aleph. Midmoah b'divrei Adonai Rabbeinu v'zichron Bracha she'ikar klei zayin shel Yisraeli hu atfilah, that the main weapon of a Jew is prayer. Rebbe Nachman explains this a number of places, but here he's quoting Likutei Moharan in the second Torah of Likutei Moharan. U'mi shezacha lecherem v'tfilah k'mo shekasu b'charbi kashti, and the one who merits to this sword of prayer, and he's quoting that it says when in Reshit when he says I went out with my sword and my bow, and Rashi says there that's referring to tefillah and bakasha, that's prayer and requesting. Now, so whoever does merit this sword of prayer, it's not just enough to have the sword. You need to know how to make war with this sword of prayer. And to hit the hair and not miss. That you shouldn't miss to the right or to the left. And it says, okay, so if you want to know more, see that Likutei Moharan and Likutei Moharan Bet. Hainu shelo yit'eh chas v'shalom shetfilos im larik. So he says that, what does this mean, not missing to the right or left? And if I'm not mistaken, this is Rebbe Nachman. Yes, this is Rebbe Nachman who's talking. And he said, Rebbe Nachman is saying that when we say don't miss the right or the left, he's saying that this means that you should not get mistaken attitudes about prayer. One of those mistaken attitudes is that you shouldn't get to the manifestation, the idea. And both ways, either way, are different types of misunderstanding that the power of prayer, and misunderstanding there are traps that we can start to feel like that prayer, God forbid, is not doing anything. Okay, Machmat shezekam shetzoakim ve'enam nosh'ayim shezeh b'chinas notel small. That, so for instance, right here he says there's one of the types of things that people happen to them is they pray and they don't see their prayers getting answered, so they make the mistake that the prayer is not being effective. That, he says, is missing to the left, missing the mark to the left. V'chein al yit'eh lomar ma lanu laharbois b'tfilah me'achar she'ikar yeshua hu rak bechazdo levad. And then there are those who make the mistake by saying, why should we keep praying a lot? Why do we keep praying over and over and over for the thing? The whole matter of whether the prayer is going to be answered is just a matter of whether Hashem is going to decide to grant His chesed, His loving kindness. That's only because of that. It's not because of our prayer. It's because every salvation is only because of Hashem's kindness. So why should we? So why? We're in other words, he says that's missing to the right. What's the idea? In other words, I'm taking Hashem's chesed is so great that I don't have to pray. That's the point. On the other hand, it's saying, I've been praying and Hashem's not answering me, so why should I keep praying? Okay, on the other side, Hashem's obviously going to answer me, so why should I keep praying? Hashem's obviously going to save me, so why should I keep praying? So that's missing to the right, he says. That means missing to the right, relating to prayer inappropriately. כי באמס צריכים להרבות מאוד בתפילת תלמיד ולדע האמס שאין אנו כדאיים לפעול בתפילתנו כי אם בחסדו. He says, the truth is that we need to pray so much, but we also have to know the truth. What's the truth? That the one missing to the right is really the truth. That really we don't really merit, not even the greatest. Rebbe Nachman is talking about himself, and I'm sure Rebbe Nachman would be saying the same thing, because he says that type of thing. That according to Hashem's infinite greatness, and according to Hashem's infinite perfection, as it were, we are so, even Rebbe Nachman, are so far from that perfection that really we're not on the level that that we should really be able to activate anything with our prayer. That really it's only because of Hashem's chesed that anything's going to happen in our favor. And maybe I wonder if Rebbe Nachman would not include Rebbe Nachman in that. That Rebbe Nachman was kedai lifol b'tfilato. But we can leave that open for argument. But nevertheless, even just that the idea is, though, that we need to remember that really any type of praying that we do is not because we think we're so great that we're going to be able to heal the world through our prayers, but rather it's only Hashem's chesed that's going to heal us or heal the world or bring about good things. Nevertheless, he says, but that's not our business. Our business is that our job is to pray. Our job as Kohanim la'amim, the priests unto the nations, right? Mamlechet Kohanim ve'goy kadosh, a nation of priests and a holy nation. Our job as Am Yisrael is to always be praying. V'Hashem Yisbarach yaseh shalom v'yamshich aleinu chazdo lema'ano v'yosheinu meher lema'an shemo. And Hashem will do what He wants, and will draw us His chesed for His sake, and He'll save us quickly for the sake of His name. And he says, see earlier chapter 47, where he also discussed this. V'hine mevuar sham. Also, it's explained in this Torah Beis and Likutei Moharan. Sha'al yedei tikun habris zochin l'tefila. He brings there that in order to merit to have prayer that is powerful and effective, there has to be a rectification of the covenant of sexuality. Therefore, Va'al Ken Yosef sheshemar l'zabris zach lebechora. And for the same reason that we're going to find out why the Shmiras Bris gives us power in our prayer, he says for the same reason, Yosef, that was the epitome of someone who guarded his covenant. And it's an interesting thing and a very important thing to notice that Yosef is the one who almost do we say Yosef was never tempted? Is that the epitome of who we learn how to guard the bris from? The guy who was never tempted? No, Yosef was deeply tempted. It says even Yosef was so tempted that he had a tipa of zera, a drop of semen that happened because he was so tempted. Right? But because he guarded himself, he didn't let himself continue in that direction, he ran away, because he was the epitome of doing that. Therefore it says he merited to have the birthright. What does that mean? Rebbe Nachman is explaining. Rebbe Nachman is shehu bechinas avodas hatfilah, that the birthright itself is, in its spiritual nature, the same thing as the service of prayer. Ki habechor notel pishnayim. Why? What's this about? What's the bechor? What's the birthright? Because the halacha of a bechor, of the firstborn, is that he gets a double portion of the inheritance. Okay, and we were talking in other times about the inheritance, being that prayer is part of the aspect of inheritance. Because when we're talking to Hashem, what does Hashem really want? The inheritance of Eretz Yisrael, and Rebbe Nachman talks about elsewhere that Eretz Yisrael is the aspect of Emunah, is the aspect of Tefillah, and so therefore the inheritance, the Nachala, is the inheritance of Eretz Yisrael, is also the inheritance of the attribute of prayer. So therefore, the Bechor who gets Pishnayim, who gets a double portion of inheritance, Shezeh Bechinas Cherev HaTfilah. Also now, this Pishnayim is two times. The word Pishnayim, which means double portion, it also literally means two mouths. And that's the aspect of the sword of prayer, because it's Sheyesh Ba Pishnayim, because it has Pipiot, it says in the verse in Tehillim, it has two blades. Right? The sword has two sharp sides. Right? And that's like two it's called it's called Pipiot, two mouths. So that's the aspects of the sword are the aspect of the double portion. And the two portions relating to prayer are what? There's two aspects of prayer. Shivcho shel makom, u'she'elas tzrachav, the praise of the place, or Hashem as the creator of this place in this moment. Right? That's one type of aspect of prayer. That's one mouth of prayer. U'she'elas tzrachav, and asking for his needs. That's the other type of the mouth of prayer. Bechinas Cherev Pipios, which says right here, we're talking about the two-bladed sword. Shnei Pios, two mouths. And how did Yosef get this double portion? I mean, what needed, since he was Shomer Bris, so the double portion, his aspect of being the firstborn, that right was taken away from whom? It was taken away from Reuven. Why? Why did Reuven lose it? Because he defiled his sexuality. Right? It says because it's a very big mystery exactly what happened with Reuven, but it's brought down that he defiled his father's bed, meaning that something was defiled in the sexual purity of his father's relationship with his wife. Because, as it says in that teaching, that anyone who sullies, who damages, who pollutes the sexual covenant loses the power of prayer. And he says, now we're going to understand something about really the service of ritual circumcision, Brit Milah. Okay, that's. So there's bechinat chituch upriya, because there's two cuttings that have to be done. There has to be the cutting away of the outer membrane, which is called the chituch, which is the orla itself, and then the pri'ah. The pri'ah is the removing of the inner membrane, and both things have to be done in order for the bris to be kosher. Sheklipas ha'orla v'apriya hem bechinas klipas esav yishmael, because these two outer coverings, which are called klipa. Klipa means shell, means something that surrounds the good, surrounds, like the shell surrounds the fruit. The klipa surrounds the holiness, and so these two membranes, the foreskin itself and then the inner membrane, are spiritually related to the spiritual darkness of Esav and Yishmael, the Esau and Ishmael. Hainu kehem bechinas pegama bris, because they themselves, those which brought down that each of those two people that came out of Abraham and Yitzchak, right? So Abraham and Yitzchak had intrinsic pollution, spiritual pollution, that had to come out as an embodiment. So therefore Abraham had a son Yishmael, and he was the embodiment of that spiritual pollution that was in Abraham Avinu, that was cleansed out. And then Abraham, after that, had a pure communication of light in his sexual relation, and that's how Yitzchak, pure Yitzchak, came out. But even Yitzchak was not completely pure. He also had a sifting to have done. He had still a bit of spiritual pollution, and he came out now. Whereas Abraham had two sons from two different wives, Yitzchak's klipa was close enough now to the actual root where his sons were twins from the same wife. And one of them is Esav, who was the embodiment of the klipa, of the darkness that was still attached and had to be purified from Yitzchak. And it happened at the same time at Yaakov, which was the embodiment of that absolute purity. So, therefore, those two embodiments of impurity are called the klipa. Hainu kihem bechinas pegama bris, veim shnei mini klipos, shemavald das ha'adam melihischazek v'tfila. And they represent the two types of klipa that confuse a person from being aware of how much we need to strengthen ourselves in a prayer. Ki Esav Amalek bechinas klipa sa'orla ha'migmura, because Esav is the spiritual inheritance of Esav mainly gets passed down through Amalek. Amalek, which is Gematria Safek, is the nation, the descendants of Esav that attacked us after we came out of Egypt and crossed the Red Sea, Yam Suf. And Amalek attacked. And it says that Amalek attacked what? The ones who were weak. The ones who were not being strong. And our sages teach us that refers to those who are weak in their faith and their strength and their trust in Hashem. So that's where Amalek attacks. We get doubts, and that's what he's talking about. That we get doubts about our prayer. We doubt: is my prayer really effective? Can my prayer really cause something? It's been such a long time. I keep praying, and nothing seems to change. So therefore, I have doubt that prayer is really beneficial at all. So why should I keep praying? That's the klipa of the Orla Gemara. That's the complete foreskin. That's the complete covering. Kihu kafar be'ikar. Because the Amalek, basically, that doubt basically totally is heresy, because the idea is that I don't believe that God's going to answer my prayer, which is complete heresy. Hashem always answers prayer. Ve'eno modeh b'tefillah klal. And therefore, then he doesn't acknowledge that prayer has any power. And therefore the person starts to think that prayer is just not beneficial and it doesn't do any good, God forbid. And that's why it says about Amalek, by Esav, it says about Esav, Vayivez Esav es a bechora shubechinas avodat tefillah, that Esav despised, he denigrated, he did not consider it important, the birthright. And we said the birthright is related to the service of prayer. So he didn't appreciate that having what's the double portion that Esav would have had that he despised? The double portion of relationship with Hashem, the double portion of Eretz Yisrael. So what happens? The moil comes along and he cuts off that piece of covering skin. And what this does is actually spiritually, energetically, in a consciousness way, cuts off the heavy tendency to have that klipa, that doubt, that complete heresy. So the question would have to come up at this point, and my question, well, if that's the case, then how come Jews that have gone through bris milah can get caught up in the doubt? So if you're saying that's what that does, then how come a circumcised Jew can even get caught up in this doubt afterwards? So I'm going to say it's that it doesn't mean, look, when we have it's the same idea over and over. Having that bris milah sets up the stage for guarding the bris. So in other words, the klipa has been removed. But if the person allows himself or herself to go back into the lusts of sexuality, lusts of physicality, then it's as if the klipa, as if that is thrown back. And on a spiritual energy, that's what happens. Okay? So therefore, that's why each time a person makes tshuva from that, there has to be a new cutting, there has to be a new immersion in the mikveh, there has to be tikkun klali and the healing of the 10 times of song, so it's a very great damage. So when the person has the bris, it sets up the framework for this being able to be a strength. But we have to be guarding that strength. We have to be guarding that state of being. So therefore, nimshach b'chinas tikkun bris. So that cutting off the orla draws the potential. Let's say, I think that's a good way to say it. It draws the potential for the rectification. Through that rectification, a person always has the ability to turn to prayer, and we got to so that the person who is damaging his covenant loses the ability of prayer. So they took away the moil, cut off the foreskin, the outer covering. We'll deal with getting the inner remove the inner member. And it's the aspect of the klipa of Yishmael. Because Yishmael, by the way, so we see this in the world. Who prays all the time? The descendants of Yishmael. Right? The Arabs are the descendants of Yishmael. They're praying 5 times a day. Okay? The descendants of Esau are considered the Christians. Right? They pray. Sure, of course they pray. But they don't, and it's not a constant thing. They'll get together, they'll have their prayer. But you don't find like this idea of like the Christians sitting at the grave of the Sikkim and praying all the time. Now that's not that you don't find sometimes instances like people in the hospital praying for their loved ones and things like that. But as a whole community, that's not their main thing. To be constantly in prayer. Their main thing is to constantly acknowledge the false deity. That's the main thing. That I'm saved because there's this false deity. But by Yishmael, they don't have that. We got to do the work. Unfortunately, they misunderstand. Their religion teaches them a false understanding of what that work is. Nevertheless, they still have this aspect of prayer, and so that's why. So Yishmael is this lesser, less dense type of klipa. Shanikra, sorry, where am I? V'chinas klipas Yishmael, shemisham nimshach ta'us acher balev lisrasher betfila chas shalom achma shenimelo shekvar shama Hashem yisbarach bevadai es tfilaso. Now this Yishmael is like God heard. His name means that Yishmael, God will hear. All right, and he's saying that's the type of prayer where you feel like, okay, God's going to hear my prayer. I don't have to pray much because God's always is going to answer my prayer. Bifrat keshero'eh is a tzmichat keren Yeshua shazni melo shekvar niskabla tfilaso. Especially when a person sees a beginning of a salvation happening, then he feels like my prayer was received and things are happening for the good now, and then he becomes lax and becomes lax in praying with continued fervor and intensity and frequency. And that is this type of second type of klipa, shnikra ken al shem kishma Hashem el onyech. And that's when it says that he was called Yishmael. The verse there says the reason he was called because Hashem has heard your poverty. This is talking to Hagar, and the Targum there, the translation into Aramaic, Arei kabel Hashem yas tzloisech, that when it says that Hashem is going to listen to your impoverishment, the accepted meaning of that is that because Hashem has accepted your prayers. While yedei mitzvahs priya mevatlin gam haklipa zois v'zochen ischazek b'tfilah tamid lios moda al havar al hatzmicha sekeren Yeshua shera'a. Okay, so through this mitzvah of priya, what does this set up? Is this nullifies the klipa of getting what's the word I'm looking for? Taking for granted, or getting taking it for granted. Okay, I'm seeing it's happening now. My prayer is being answered. Things are happening for the good, and I don't have to pray so much anymore. That tendency is nullified by doing this part of the circumcision, this part of the bris milah, removing that inner membrane. And so what happens is gives the potential and the more likely ability to one, be acknowledging and thanking for the past, that this beginning of salvation has happened to Hashem, and nevertheless V'latzok la'atzid lavo. I'm going to continue to call out and scream out to you, even though I see that, based on what's been happening, things seem to be very good. Ki adayin lo nigmara hayeshuah, v'adayin anu tzrichim הרבה yeshuos ma'od kol yemei chayenu. Because even, you know what? Even if it got good, Ken Yeratzon. So we're going through a tough time, and the person's praying and praying and praying. Hashem, please, it's amazing that you give me this tough time, and I'm asking you, begging you, please help me through this and give me salvation to be able to that the situation change. And the person starts to see the situation change. Right? So now what are you going to do? First of all, thank you so much, Hashem. You've given me so much already. It's so beautiful. And I know that there's so much more that's needed to unfold and that you want to give me salvations. So I'm going to continue to ask you and beg you, Hashem, I need more salvation. Because he says, just because one period of time is finished, the life is a turning wheel. And sometimes we're down and sometimes we're up. And that's the whole life, up and down. And even the Goyim know that, biorhythms, and everything's always a cyclical ups and downs. That's why Rebbe Nachman teaches that in order to do tshuva, you have to be expert in going up, you have to be an expert in going down. Because that's the way it is. Right? So therefore, we have to know that when we're up, we have to thank Hashem for bringing us there, and know that we're going to still need more Yeshuas, more salvation, so to just keep praying and not get lax in our prayer, and to never lose. When you're in the habit of doing something, you'll keep doing it. So he's saying here, get it that it's habitual but not rote. Habitual to pray, that you're in the habit of praying, but it's always full of presence. We're calling out. We're not just doing it by rote, but we're actually always knowing and being aware that no matter what, we need Yeshuot, we need salvations, all the days of our lives. Until we can merit to come to what we need to come to, each of us according to our own tikkun. We came here. We came here to have these trials and tribulations and to receive rectifications and go through tests and pass tests and fail tests and to get rectifications. That's why we're here. And so the only way we can do that is to really do it and come to what we're supposed to come to is by constantly having this relationship with Hashem, this intimacy where you talk to Hashem about everything and constantly asking and thanking, begging for and thanking, praising Hashem for what He's done and the goodnesses, and asking for the help for what we need help for each time. So therefore we need to be constantly praying and encouraging ourselves, reminding ourselves to keep praying more and more and more. And I'm telling you, I'm at least all the time, I'm teaching myself. What, you think, this is actually, I think in our Kabur, this is the fourth time we're almost finished. We've got 10 more chapters, 11 more chapters. And what, am I so much better at Tefillah? Well, Baruch Hashem, it's slowly but surely progressing. But I see how amazingly the Yetzer Hara will get me distracted, and still I have a long way to go before I'm in the place where I can say I'm praying a majority of my time. Then I'm not down on myself. I mean, I'm progressing. I came from not praying hardly at all. Maybe I'll once in a while, if I needed something really was terrible going on, and God forbid, as they say, no atheists in a foxhole. But the idea of praying for everything, like I think I was sharing with you all that like a couple of weeks ago, I had my bike and I wanted to lock it up, and I was a little nervous, maybe something's going to happen, and all of a sudden, let me turn to the one who gave me the bike and ask him to to take care of it and keep giving it to me. And so I prayed that way, and then I let go of all the tightness about it, and thank God it was there, and I thanked Hashem and for the protection of it, and that's always important to remember to do. Ask Hashem for the thing, and then thank Hashem for whatever we got. But again, my point is that I am still teaching myself and reminding myself continuing to get used to the idea of praying all the time. So now he goes on. And it says Mordechai returned. And our sages explain this as that he returned to Sheshav, Lesako, Uleta'anito. This is when did this happen? Because this is right after Mordechai was put on the horse. Like, the story? It's when Haman, Mordechai saved the king's life, and it was written up in the King's Chronicles, and then it was discovered that Mordechai had never been rewarded, and so just when the king was trying to figure out and hear from his advisors what he should do to reward Mordechai, in comes Haman, who's coming to ask the king for permission to hang the Jews and hang Mordechai. So when the king says to Haman, what should we do to it? What would the king do to a man? What should be done to a man the king wishes to honor? And Haman thinks it's for him. And he says, put him on the horse and lead him through the city and shout, this is what the way the king does and the way the king wants to honor somebody. So the king says, okay, you go and take Mordechai the Jew and put him on my horse and put him in my clothes and you lead him through the streets. And Haman, it was a great disgrace and a downfall for Haman, and it was a great victory for Mordechai. So and Mordechai knew that Haman was trying to kill all the Jews. And so when he saw this salvation, he saw with his own eyes that he's being elevated and Haman's being denigrated. So what does he do? He says he went back. He went back to his sackcloth and his fasting. Because why? That even though he already saw this amazing salvation, that they put him on the king's horse with the king's clothes and they're calling out before him, etc. Nevertheless, he didn't become lax in his prayer. And it says by Esther, it says that Esther additionally went and spoke even furthermore before the king. And she cried and supplicated to remove the evil of Haman. Now Esther is considered like an archetype of one of the different manifestations of Am Yisrael. Esther is considered an archetype for the nation of Israel, for Knesset Yisrael, the congregation of Israel. That she herself, she saw that the king gave permission. First of all, canceled the order to kill them, and gave them permission to make war. And she saw tremendous success. And nevertheless, it wasn't finished. What did she do? She didn't wait and see how it was going to come out. She went back to talk to the king again and pleaded before him to get rid of the evil of Haman completely. So that's us. That's Am Yisrael. What we have to do. That even when we see great salvation and amazing miracles, that the other side, the evil forces in the aspect of Haman and Amalek, has already fallen very far down. And even when they hung Haman and his sons they hung him to death already. Nevertheless, Esther returns and supplicates further. They don't get content. They don't rest on their laurels. We don't. That we still stand and pray and cry and beg before Hashem like a son that is trying to appease his father, to get rid of the evil that is Haman, which is evil, complete evil, the other side, which is evil. To get rid of it, and that's all of us. How much do you do it? How much do I do it? How much do I talk to Hashem like a little boy? Like Hashem, the world is full of pain and evil. Abba, the world is full of so much pain. Please take away all the evil. Finally, please take it away. Please let it be enough. You've given so much. You've protected us with so many miracles. Look at all the things that have happened that could have really damaged us. I mean, it's horrible every Jew that gets hurt, but Hashem, I see that you've been protecting us. But Hashem, that's not enough. You have to get rid of the evil. Please, Abba. Please, my Father. Here I'm talking to you. What am I going to do? All I'm asking you is to show your love. Show your love like a father loves his children. And get rid of all the darkness. A father that loves his children, Abba. Father, a father that loves his children would certainly, if he had the ability to make his child protected from evil and get rid of the evil, what father wouldn't do that? What healthy father that loves his children wouldn't get rid of the evil? So please, I'm begging you, and that's how we all have to talk to Hashem all the time and not fall away from that. And that's what Rebbe Nachman and Rebbe Nassim are teaching us here. That this is our nature, this is what we have to do, and we're not used to it. So it seems weird or it seems uncomfortable. But we have to get behind that. We have to push ourselves and do it when the world needs us. The world needs us. We're not doing our job enough, and this is our job. To get rid of it, evil. She's cool. Lihitaher, lihiskadesh, lagamay. Please Hashem. So what if you're a Jew you'd love to be really religious and you'd love to be able to do it. It's just too hard. Well, you have to tell Hashem that. Hashem, please, that's so hard for me to do all of this. I'm begging you, it's only because of the evil. It's only because of the Sitra Achra. It's only because of my Yitzhara. You know my Neshama, Hashem. You know my Neshama wants your Kedusha. You know my Neshama wants your mitzvahs. It's only the other side. Please, Hashem, eradicate the evil. Bring me close to holiness. Bring me along the path of holiness and raise me up. That's the type of thing we want to be constantly asking for and begging Hashem to purify us and sanctify us. Uve'emes. And so the truth is, when a person becomes lax in his prayer because he saw that I had a good day of prayer, a lot of things happened, enough, let's take a break. That, he says, when a person has that attitude, I don't really have to pray so much anymore because life's good right now. Which is, as we said, that's missing to the right. That's the inner membrane, the aspect of Ishmael. Then what happens is that the completion of the salvation doesn't happen. It's not a complete salvation. It's only a partial salvation. And his own exile will be elongated, God forbid, because he was lax in tefillah, in prayer. And then what happens like this? Then this once that vibration of darkness and consciousness comes in and permeates for a person again, when he allows that to happen, then what happens is it allows the even more dark consciousness to start to come back in, as if the outer foreskin of the heavy, coarse, more dense, more dark powers are coming back and growing on again. That's what happens. And it stuffs up the heart, legamre, completely. So you don't even feel you're numbed out. You don't even pay attention to that. You need help. You need salvation. You're just like living life in the numb lane. That's a lot of sitting with your phone and playing games and that your Pokemon Go, whatever it is. That's your entire life is all something that's external, and there's really no internal experience of your life or in relationship with your Creator. Therefore, we have to care constantly, be alert to make sure that we keep praying. So that's why both of these klipas, we got to be careful not to get discouraged when our prayer hasn't been answered, and let ourselves think thoughts from the other side that say, prayer is no good, it's no beneficial, God forbid. That's missing to the left. And we have to also be careful that when we have been successful, that Hashem's been answering our prayers and things are going better, and that we have to keep crying out that things are not completed, that we need, that begging for the complete Yeshua. May we be zoche to continue to pray. And let's do it right now. Pray right now. If you're listening to this in the recording, go ahead and do this right now. Don't waste the moment. You just heard about this idea. Say a prayer right now, asking, begging, silently scream. If it's an appropriate place, out loud scream. And inside your screaming, inside your oi, have thoughts of, please Hashem, bring me to prayer. And hold those as thoughts inside your scream. And then after you finish your scream, then say the words. This is a very powerful way Rebbe Nachman teaches of actually bringing about what you wanted to bring about, plus it brings tremendous good to the whole world. When we hold a yearning inside of ourselves as a silent scream, as a thought, and then amplify it, make it a scream, and make it an oi, either silent or verbal or both, or audible or both, and then at the end say the words. So for instance, I'm going to talk, I want to be able to remember to pray. I want to never be lax in my prayer and always believe in the power of prayer. So I'm going to hold that as my yearning. Please, Abba, let me be able to pray all the time and remember to pray all the time and never forget and never let me be lax. Let me always come to pray. Please, Abba, I'm begging you. Oh, I want to pray. I want to pray. I want to pray. Please bring me to prayer. Bring me proper prayer. Right? And even as I'm saying this, there's a voice inside that sounds so stupid. That seems so fake. That's to me. What does that tell me? Oh, that I'm doing something good, because that's not me. That's my Yetzer Hara that's trying to stop me. But that's what, in other places, we've learned about this, that when you're in the process of really doing effective prayer, you're going to get many times hit with all sorts of thoughts that try to get in the way. And that's what was happening to me as I was praying like this. Like, oh my gosh, this is so uncomfortable. I don't want to keep doing this. All these things were going on inside. And I would normally ignore them, but it's appropriate for the purpose of teaching to be reminded of these truths about the nature, the physics, let's call, of prayer, right? The spiritual laws of prayer. So, may we be zocha to come to true prayer and to come to believe in the power of our prayer and to know that even though we're not worthy of having our prayers answered, Hashem in His chesed listens to prayer and does answer prayer, and our prayers are important to Hashem and our prayers are important to the world. May we be zocha to continue to remember that and act on it until the point where Hashem will reveal the truth of His goodness in such a way that the entire world will come to salvation. And may we merit to hopefully not have to fast this week, or this coming week, or if God forbid we do still have to fast, may it be a easy, meaningful, effective, and joyous fast.